There we go. Hello. Got everything all set up and we should be good to go to start. Audio should be going through. And there we go. Hello and welcome to the stream. I'm Aegis Wolf and of the Resonite art team, and this is the weekly Resonite art team office hours. Oh, hello Decoy. Welcome to the stream, as well as computer user and Baplar. So far we're just sitting here or standing in dunes. Good evening. Or morning, depending on where you are. Definitely gonna be here sitting around answering your questions, either from Discord prior or live in chat. If you have questions about Resonite or the art team or any of the anything surrounding the two, just make sure to end your question with a question mark. It'll pop up in the stream that I got right here, or chat that I got right here. And also, hello, Jack. It's not like we were just in the world together earlier as well, too. Yeah. Yeah, welcome to the stream. Rue's taking it easy today, so it's just me today. So, but yeah. Interesting. Okay, yeah, that. Okay, interesting. It's not really a question, but like previously on Art Team Office Hours, computer user was talking about uh, performance impact for uh, part particles with meshes, like a simple triangle in each particle. So, regards of like them messing around with the different settings on there. Interesting. Follow up. Definitely people are doing their MMC tours. I know Frooks technically went through almost every single one. From what I recall, there's just the ones that they need to do with multiple people to really fully go through. Ah, this is a really good question and actually quite relevant to what we're doing as of late too. And kind of go over it without spoilers. So, with this question here from Jack the Fox Otter, I'm curious about what process you usually go through when you start designing something new, from start to finish. How do you approach new projects, and how do you have any recommendations for others? First off, number one word to know and understand, and I know this from experience, is make sure to know your scope. Make sure to know your scope of the project. And like when you're in a concepting phase of like, designing something, it's good to just go wild. Like do whatever the hell because like at that point you're going to cut things down to, you know, get what you realistically can do and can't do. At that point in time, don't let, anything really like stop you or whatnot in regards of concepting something for, whether it be visually or mechanically. And then from there, it's like you assess it in regards of, is this realistic to do? Is this even possible? Is this something, you know, even, fit for the project or that? And then from there, kind of narrow yourself down of like what you can do or can't do. That's why like you see concept art in games and whatnot go with crazy ideas that you never really would expect. And then like in the games you see like for example like I don't know 25% of like what has been concepted become reality. So because at that stage you have like a shotgun blast of all the different like creative ideas and then things get cut. But the thing is, you don't have to feel bad of like, cutting things out to make things work or run good. You can also just think about it as like, hey, this is something that you can revisit later, and that's what a lot of games or a lot of projects do in the future. Is like they figure out how to re-implement the ideas they already have. It's like, oh hey, I thought about this idea before, and it's like I remember it because I made a concept of it or whatnot, and it'll actually fit better in this project than the original one that it was supposed to be in. And like another big important thing to note too is make it exist first, then worry about optimizing it and then whatever, make it look nice and pretty later. Because at that point, if you got like a scope that uses like something incredibly important, you can't really compromise on that. And that's also like within the amount of like scope. Because if your scope is vague on the project, then you'll have struggles in regards of trying to figure out what you need to do for it. Let me see. But yeah, regards of the example of like as of late, the tutorial or tutorial 2.0 is it's I guess codenamed at this point. uh, Going through, we started with, of course, in this case, gathering as much feedback that has been gathered for the entirety of Resonite's lifespan so far, organizing it into like GitHub issues, going through, seeing what's relevant for the project in regards to like what we can improve upon, seeing because like I'm going through specifically all the different content related issues as well as all the stuff related to the tutorial and any other piece of content related to it. Say like whether it be assets or features that we put in the assets via content wise, and also organizing it by is this something related to the existing tutorial that would just pretty much be better worth spending time working on the new one, and which point is like, say game breaking right now that is like incredibly important, or stuff that'll improve the experience of the tutorial that we're working from the ground up right now. Stuff like that. Then from there, going through, jotting down, like, in regards to, like, in depth of how we are right now with the tutorial, is having that in mind, going through, getting the idea of how the narrative experience would be, because that's the approach that we're going to be doing, how it's going to be laid out, how it's going to be presented to the user, and how it's going to give users choice, or actually, more importantly, when does the experience give user choice? Because there's going to be at some point, people are going to have to learn how to, say, move around, how to interact with objects, how to interact with their menu to even use the platform at some, to even like do other things. Say if they come in brand new, they want to find their friends, but they don't know how to. We got to figure out when we can like, find all the optional stuff that they can look at and anybody can, come back later. And what is the absolute minimum that we have to show users and teach users in a more interactive and narrative way to, you know, uh, use Resonite. And going through, so far we kind of like broke it down into two different categories, other than extra stuff uh, things that is optional, like say building, editing, or some of the other more niche topics like uh, interactions with, say, different specified locomotions or whatnot. But say, oh, index controllers. Eh, yeah, pretty much the two so far that we might have to split into three with the amount of like things, but usually there's like two types of categories when you're dealing with Resonite so far. Is you got like the physical, I quote unquote physical interactions. It's like the stuff that you interact in the world. Say like when you grab an object with your laser, or with your grab points when you're scaling stuff, when you're scaling yourself, uh, interacting with buttons. Say if I press this button here, turns off the light or something like that. Things like that. And then you got stuff like your menus, like say the dashboard or the radio menu or even this camera that is here. Things like that, where it's like kind of in its own kind of category or of interactions there. As a retro gamer put it, social builder, coder, three of they think of. Well, builder and coder are pretty much under the same thing about editing, if you think about it. Because you're editing things in a world, or objects, or avatars. And with that, you also get subcategories. It's like, uh, yeah, it, the, the details or semantics or however you put it, it still is something that we're looking at getting, but a way that we're going to try to do the interactions, even for the UI as well, is either have it more diegetic, which means it's more familiar to like people in general in reality. Like, say, a button to press something to open a door. You don't have to go into a menu and press it. You just press like a button on the side or pull a lever or something to like open it. Or say in the very beginning, when you're selecting a locomotion, for example, in the tutorial, say there's people, of course, that are prone to motion sickness either when they are smooth turning or when they're moving around compared to like teleporting around. Say when you're selecting that thing, it's not just, in your settings. In the very beginning, it tells you, do you want to smooth turning, and explains, briefly what it is. Same with snap turning and whatnot. And then you have like some sort of physical thing you can like move or switch or touch to kind of adjust it. And we'll have that capability of doing that in the tutorial, because it's kind of like a really good case to kind of break the usual norm when it comes to like how a lot of things are controlled via your menu versus in world, as well as some of the other like details in regards to the tutorial that we've been working on, is like the setting, like the place it's going to take place in, what kind of interactions, what kind of narrative, including even people to potentially have, for whether it be voice actors or uh, feedback and stuff that we get from things like that. And it's gonna be interesting, as well as one thing that we thought about too, and we kind of like touched on it previously too, is like, imagine giving incentives for people completing it, even if they're already you know a seasoned player or user in Resonite. You can complete it and it gets you something. Hell, maybe even Steam achievements. stuff like that. Lots of different concepts that we've been looking at. And like another example, like say teaches you how to equip an avatar. This is like how you can equip an avatar, and or how you can favorite a custom keyboard or color picker. And say, for example, I go through and make like a Resonite 98 style, or like a Windows 98 style UI, kind of like I did with the facets, or Ravi whips up like a cool looking facet UI in their own style, or I make something out of 3D models because you can also have UI elements be made out of 3D models, not just UIX. And because I've seen some people make, like, for example, color picker. I forgot. Someone in the Japanese community recreated one out of a short anime film. It was like about someone creating a virtual world using it, but having incentives for people to go through, and I think it would be really neat. Little goodies here and there. Lots of different concepts, but there's still a lot of other things that, yeah. I don't want to go too much in depth with it because spoilers. But it's pretty much like what you would expect it, how we would approach a new tutorial. Even things like a new refresh of the assets that we're working on is being in the works as well. I did kind of show previews of it in months of the past when Ravi had some time to work on it on hand. It's like more modular things like verticality options like stairs, ramps, elevators, ladders. Like one of the actually that's a good thing to kind of talk about too. And feel free, like while I'm just rambling about things, at any time, please like ask questions about anything about Resonite. Just add a question mark. And bless if you aren't able to, you know, uh, attend the Twitch chat to ask questions, you can always ask them in the Discord. I did already previously created a Discord forum link in the announcements, and that's where you can ask ahead of the time. Or if you're not able to attend, you can always look at the VODs and stuff that we import into YouTube, as well as while they're still on Twitch as well. They get deleted after, I don't know, like 2 weeks or so. But we put them on YouTube. Where was I? Regards of tutorial content. I already talked about the thing. It'll come back to me. Last night I was working on protoflux of a projectile system again. Yes, that very same system I probably showcased multiple times on the stream, as in various iterations of it. This time I'm trying to make it work for one system per entire world, where it's deduplicated. Incentives. Jeez. My mind is half mush. Actually, if I go through my inventory here, I might jerk in my memory. Accessibility was another thing that I just remembered about the tutorial that we've been looking at too. Things like looking at how Valve does their design when it comes to VR. For example, in Half-Life Alyx, they made sure that the game works with one hand or one controller. Just in case, not only if someone's physically impaired, but say if their other controller either was dead with battery life, damaged, or destroyed even. And you'll still be able to play the game from start to finish with a single controller. That's like an example of it. Other things is like making sure, say, things like, actually tying into that, things like scaling yourself and all that deals with two hands. It's like, what if we made like a GitHub issue, or see if there is a GitHub issue for that for like a single hand or whatnot, and figure out things like color blindness for UI or in-world elements, things like that. Especially when it comes to a tutorial, you want to make sure to catch a wide net of, audience and make sure it's as comfortable to use. Helps improve the platform itself too. Why is my Streamlabs blank? I'm still Okay, I was a little soon there. That was weird. This is a good question. Actually, it might also be a good GitHub question too, as in see if the GitHub exists. Is there a way to disable the F8 switch from VR to desktop function? I am not sure if there's a way to disable the, desktop to VR via F8. I know there's a way to disable, say if you take off the headset, it's automatic swaps to desktop, but I don't know if there's a way to specifically do that in particular. But see if there's a GitHub issue on this in particular, as well as a GitHub issue on rebinding the keys and upvote it if it does exist on our GitHub. And probably upvote both if they already exist. But yeah. And that is why you save your progress when you can. Because even like in Steam VR, sometimes it could happen. Especially when you're working on a protoflux script that uses a while loop. Especially an async while. Whatever you do, if you ever use an async while, use an updates delay. Otherwise you'll die as it crashes out of your game. It's because it'll constantly update, and it updates faster than a tick rate, and then it ends up going to a weird feedback loop. But it only ends up happening to the person that starts it. Starts the loop. Trying to think of anything else in regards of like the tutorial experience other than like references and inspirations. Going through multiple types of games, seeing how they introduce new users, things like how Valve does, not just in Half-Life Alyx, and like Portal, how it actually was one of the inspirations Fruits originally was looking at for a tutorial for the platform was Portal. Now it showcases how to use the platform over time, and even have things like comedic elements into it as well too, and a narrative kind of like way to teach players to go through the game, but also looking through how narrative experiences would have impact on like the atmosphere, things like how vistas that people see are, built out and structured. And what I mean of vistas is like you go into a place and you see like a nice view, kind of giving the vibe of the place. And like one thing I'll say too is like with the aesthetic of Resonite, it isn't just solely just, the Dawn art style that we have. It could be anything. So it's like, how do we incorporate that idea into like uh, that idea of like multiple styles or environments into a tutorial? That's one thing we're looking at too. How? That'll be up to how he ends up doing it. We'll think of something. We're getting ideas across all the board, from the whole team to mentor leads, folks that want to give their experience in regards of teaching new users, like as much input as we can, especially also throughout the community. What are the biggest like pain points that people have for learning this platform? And what people want to do on this platform is as important as, how to teach it to them. Seems like a more chill day today. Let's sit back here. I got a sneeze starting. I got a sneeze that don't want to start. Even looking at a light doesn't want to start it. Ugh. I don't want to go too much into like the details of this stuff other than, the very basics of like what the community would want from it. A lot of the rest is just like creative, like endeavors that we're gonna be doing for it. And all I say about the lore in regards of what we're doing, to kind of quote Fruks, as always, everything is canon. As I try to sit myself in a chair. Every copy of Resonite is personalized. That is an interesting concept. Noted. Interesting if something like that has been looked into or thought about. The question is, how would we do it? Also, the thing about this tutorial experience too is like it's something that we're going at a pace that we're comfortable with. Not too slow, not too fast, but in a way that we all come together as like the art team and any others on staff that wants to have input on it. uh, go and have work sessions to kind of like design out, block out mechanics and making mechanics and test it, and then have time where like we're on our own between sessions, and that's like, whether it be between days or within a day, have time for us to like work on our own things when it comes to relating to that or even other tangential projects. I see. One game I looked at recently with how they did their tutorial, and that was, Voices the Void as well. There's some things that we probably won't do in how they do it, like the atmosphere, how it's its own thing in the tutorial versus the base game is interesting, as well as the rabbit holes that you can go down in it, sometimes even quite literally, which can be interesting. But a lot of it is just text, so having like visual iconography as well as text, as well as like audio cues and narration help make things like interactive experiences and teaching people easier. And one thing that like I was talking with someone about this too, and they mentioned about, well, people really don't read. It's not really because of reading comprehension, and more or less is, I think it was Jack that actually was talking about it, or I don't remember exactly who. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, if it was you that mentioned it to me. But about how it could be just people are used to seeing lots of like text in games or in like programs or whatnot, and they just want to go in and play or do whatever, and so they instinctively ignore it. Even I, pretty much everybody here would probably ignore some things here and there, even like subconsciously. Having a way to guide a user through, and it's not attention span either, as well. Like, it's just about like engaging the user in a more direct way, in a more visual, direct way. Which could help people like understand things better, especially with a complex platform like this, where I think there's always going to be like things that people won't understand about this platform compared to other places. It's like the main thing that I see a lot of people don't really grasp their mind until they've been in here for a while is that the fact that people can edit in here while also, socializing. People are separating those two different things as like, oh, if you're a builder, you go into these worlds to build, or you go or going outside of the program to build it, or if you playing a game or socializing, you're in here. The fact that you can do both simultaneously in the same place is where a lot of people don't understand yet or grasp the concept. It's not a bad thing, it's that means not many places make this kind of place, make that kind of environment. At this point, I'm getting to the philosophical side of design and stuff, but that is as important too as like the visuals, the mechanics, the technical, the narrative, the yeah. Why does it still? Okay, on my screen, I'm seeing my stream window on Streamlabs. That's all I see. Everything else is like blank gray. I don't know. I'm gonna be switching to regular OBS at some point soon too, because Decoy helped me set this up again and familiarize myself with the layouts and how to get like the overlays, stuff like that set up. So yeah, strange. So yeah, it's gonna be quite. We still got about say 20 minutes left if anybody has any questions, whether it be about the tutorial, any other projects we're doing. We're still working on the universe here and there, picking at it. It's like another one of those projects that we're just, when it's ready, it's ready. Don't want to rush it. Yeah. Anything about Resonite itself, MMC, well, actually, it'd probably be best to wait until voting ends about, like, talking about MMC entries. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Other than if people are still exploring worlds. I'm still exploring worlds here and there. There's a lot of them, over about 200 submissions. That's a lot. Games, tools, memes, narrative experiences, educational stuff, miscellaneous, you name it. It's gonna be exciting to see, like, each year, like, people are stepping up their game every year. I swear, it's just cool to see. And I know some folks that have submitted stuff are even working on improving the stuff that they've made, or just adding on top of it post MMC, which I think is pretty cool and gives more reason for people to check out the things they made. Can't really talk about any to kind of answer Baplar's question. Pretty much it's best for, like, even us as I'm for transparency, I'm not one of the judges, but in general, whether it be talking about stuff on social media or on, here, well, I guess technically here is as well. Unless if it's in like private with friends and that, it'd be best to not, accidentally promote what you like over something else that should have equal opportunity of winning. Especially if there's like 200 plus submissions. I haven't seen everything, and it wouldn't be fair for me to even, like, mention like 50 of them. Because there's probably even more that, like, I don't even know of, that I probably would even like, and many other people would like and vote for too. It's like everybody on the platform can vote for like any of those. It's, yeah, exciting stuff. Probably right after the stream, I'm probably gonna be, well, cleaning up said protoflux of that projectile system I made. I may as well bring it in here so you can see the abomination of the system that I've made. Someone even posted it in the screenshot I took in another world, where someone said it looks like a submarine. Actually, I'll see if I can find it. Let's see here. Screenshots. And then I scroll up a little. There it is. Copy image. And then keep in mind this is before my modification. That is what controls. Actually, well, that's like half of the newer system, I realized. Okay. Yeah. That system right there controls a raycast system in the very tail end of the submarine, and in the very main portion of it is the decal system. Stuff for like bullet holes or arrows sticking into the ground. Oh, I clicked on the anchor. Yeah, it's the logic that makes these arrows stick to the ground or walls or whatnot. And then in unpacking this thing, it's be a good thing to end off here. Concept I've been trying to look at is, well, currently I have to put this system on each individual object that needs a projectile system, and that could add up over time. Why not just have a single projectile system per world, and each object that has this projectile system has like a template of some sort that has all these variables that originally were on the template or the projectile system, and using a dynamic variable space and all the dynamic variables under it, pipe it through the protoflux via an what is called an asynchronous or asynchronous dynamic impulse. That is a wordful. And yeah, that protoflux that looks like a submarine is just this. That's just half of it. Actually, probably like 2/5, and this is the rest of the 3/5 of it, which is just the thing that controls the projectile. Now, originally, I had it in 3 separate circuits. One that deals with like a raycast, which shoots a laser in the beginning, and you can have just a point and click laser projectile if you wanted as an option. Another one is the projectile, which is right here. And a third is the actual projectile that gets launched in the air physically, which has a lot more logic to it. Things like tracking targets or following a point like a laser-guided munition or something, or even following like a remote control. And due to the nature of asynchronous context, I was kind of forced to plug it into itself. Because currently with the limitations of Resonite, I have to pipe through once per or one piece of data of a dynamic impulse. So yeah. But it's a trade-off I was willing to make. Because imagine you're just dealing with only one of these systems in the world, a game world, full of say 20 different objects that uses projectiles. I think it's a fair trade-off. Only a few more nodes, and it's all technically packed into one thing. Things like nested nodes, collections, and various other different features would make this more improved, but the fact that it's made in a modular way where I can just eventually just swap out how the protoflux works, I can just make the objects that use these things and then just swap it out when there's new features. So I'm not too worried about, having to redo this again and again. Because I already got the knowledge and like workflow of how this works. Of course, there's probably someone saying I could do this better as well, and I welcome that. There are definitely, even during MMC, people have made really cool systems like this. And this is just something that I wanted to make to eventually make games in Resonite, just like the hover bike. A version of this system is in the essentials as well. Just not this crazy insane version that I still have yet to clean the protoflux of. Oh man, you can even see the individual protoflux nodes packing together. Crazy. Alright. Well, pretty much it's like a good end for the stream. Well, it's a little early than an hour, but it is quite more calm evening for folks. Just refresh my screen here. There we go. Well, as per usual, every week around this time, I did do a little change to the calendar, at least on Discord. Don't know if it updates the one that is in the events calendar to just have it the same time as it would if it was daylight savings time or not, to make it easy on folks. And it's pretty much around the same time, 5 p.m. U.S. Central Time, where we have the art team office hours, as well as there's plenty of other office hours as well. If folks have any other questions, whether it be technical, marketing, business-wide, wise, or general Resonite stuff, moderation, there's different office hours that we do throughout the week, and weekends as well too. On Sundays, you have both the moderation office hours with Veer and Canadian Git, as well as the Resonance podcast, which is like the office hours that Fruxius and Cyro do, as well as the purple hour that J4 does, I believe, on Mondays every other week. Tuesdays, Probable Prime does their primetime office hours currently on Discord. And marketing recently started, or not started, their marketing office hours on Mondays as well, with Chroma, Decoy, and Rustybot. All the explicit times for each individual one is in the calendar on Discord or in the in-game or in-platform events board right here in the Resonite Essentials. As you can see, wait, it updated. It does update it. Huh. Because it's now it says 5 to 6. That's what I changed it on Discord. That's pretty cool. Maybe Prodoc updated it. Either way, thank you, Prodoc, for helping with this facet, as well as, well, you manually updated it or made the function to automatically update it. That's cool. Learned something new. Yeah. Last but not least, I also like to thank our supporters. We do have a supporter list right behind us that's constantly scrolling. There's plenty others than just that, not only on this list right here, but many supporters that have subscribed to Resonite via Patreon or our Stripes-based service. And thank you all for supporting us. It helps us, get to be able to build this experience, improve the platform, improve your quality of life on the platform. And helps us, keep the lights on for servers, etc. can't do this without you. As always, I'll see you next week. I'll have a good one. Bye-bye. I got a Protoflux spaghetti master clean. You all take care.